Hello, hello. Are we live? Looks like the sound might be working. Looks like the sound, according to what I'm seeing here at the bottom, the sound must be working properly. Let's see if I can share this out on Twitter. And after sharing some of that on Twitter, I am back. Hello, everybody. For those that are watching, I don't see anyone in the chat right now. Well, nobody's in the chat. I'm gonna start the stream anyway. This is a GeoScholar, and I'm doing a little live stream about the state of Oregon, or in particular, I'm going to do a live stream about its wetlands and some legislation that is taking place right now in the state of Oregon. Right now, there are currently 3 House bills that are being proposed by the Oregon State Legislature. You have House Bill 2796, House Bill 2436, and House Bill 2438. I'm going to put a link in the description box. You can read more about it. If you can hear me, I think there's somebody watching. If you can hear me in the chat, let me know. Let me know right now. Oh, good. What are they doing now? I'm going to explain in a moment. What's going on in the state of Oregon right now, there is some legislature being passed, and this legislature would effectively streamline the process of which getting a permit for developing wetlands would be it would be made easier. And basically, if a builder wants to come and develop some land, like if there's a wetland and a developer wants to build housing on it or wants to build shopping center on it, there's right now there are certain steps that have to be taken in order to be able to develop that wetland. Currently, as it exists, the steps taken to get a permit in order to develop that land that is previously a wetland, that is a wet, in order to develop that land, in order to fill up that wetland or to drain it or anything like that, you have to get a permit for that. And in order to get a permit, you have to prove that you're taking steps in order to mitigate any destruction that's going to take place to that wetland. You have to prove that you're going to be you're going to help in the restoration process. You're going to prove that you have to be able to prove that you are taking efforts in order to cause as minimal environmental destruction as possible. And so with that in mind, those are some of the steps that you have to take in order to get a permit if you want to develop some land that is currently a wetland. That is how it works in Oregon. And the steps, there's a possibility that those steps could be that they could be streamlined, they could be made a bit easier. And these are some of the House bills that are being proposed. House Bill 2796, that covers degraded wetlands. That to cover, in fact, I got it up right now. I'm going to post it. I've got the link to HB 2796. There it is. That House bill requires the Department of State Lands to develop rules regarding the removal and filling in of degraded wetlands. In other words, wetlands that have already been negatively impacted by human activity. I've done some wetland delineation work in the past. I do not support destroying wetlands in any way. Created wetlands never provide the same. Well, I'll get into that in a moment. Obviously, there are going to be people who don't support getting rid of wetlands. And you are correct in saying that there is a difference between a natural wetland and a wetland that has been created, because a natural wetland is going to have the natural stuff in that environment, stuff that is native to that environment, the plants, the animals that are native to that environment, whereas a wetland that is being created, that is being built, is they're going to try to make it as natural as possible, but it's not going to be the same. It's not only, it's not going to, it may not even include plants that are native to that area. But House Bill 2796 is going to be about, rules regarding the filling in of degraded wetlands. Wetlands that have already, hold on one moment. Having a little technical difficulty here, but other than that, I'm trying to make sure everything's stable with this computer. But yeah, it's better. Obviously having wetland there is going to be helpful, if you're trying to rebuild, but at the same time, it's not the same. But I'm going to try to discuss this with as much impartiality and with as much facts as possible. And now I'm going to talk about House Bill 2436. House Bill 2436. This is about sort of the laws around, removal and filling of, it's about basically what's taking place. This is about, the Oregon Department of State Lands has to develop a proposal to be considered by the legislature by 2020. And what's taken place is there's going to be some partial control of wetland developments under the federal Clean Water Act. There's going to be some new rules regarding, it would introduce some new rules regarding, how to administer certain federal standards regarding the dredging and filling of swamps. And I'm going to put that in there. Oh, Briggs! Briggs! Okay, everybody, please check out this man's channel. Check this guy out. Briggs. He does a lot of humorous videos about so many different places. Check this guy out. This guy does some of the coolest videos. He does some of the top 10 reasons why you shouldn't move to a place, or top 10 reasons why you should move to a place. I think about some of the videos that he does, and myself personally, being a geographer, this is stuff that I really like doing. In fact, Briggs himself actually was somewhat of an inspiration behind one of the videos I did. I did a video about one of the reasons why you should visit or move to the state of Texas. And he did his own video about top 10 reasons why places, the good aspects about the state of Texas. I pointed out a big aspect about the state of Texas, the land itself. Stuff from the deserts, the wet forest of eastern Texas, the Gulf region, the prairies, the hill country of central Texas. Check this guy's channel out. Check out World According to Briggs. Check his channel out. In fact, let's see what I can do. And let's see. No problem, Briggs. Take your link and put it in the chat. Have people come and see your channel. Put your link in the chat. Because right now my computer I'm having an issue. But I'm also going to put in this right here. Oh, boy. I recently got a smaller computer. So yeah, I'm going to put in the link to House Bill 2436. Show. Yes, I'm going to show this. Check this guy's channel out. Check his channel out. And now I'm going to put in the link to Oregon's HB 2436. This one's going to be sort of how, certain federal standards regarding it's going to deal with the Federal Clean Water Act. It's also going to deal with like filling in of and dredging of wetlands in Oregon. HB 2438, I'm going to put that in the link as well. If this computer does not mess up on me again. But basically what it is about HB 2438, this one's going to be about allocating money to the Oregon Cascades West Council of Governments. And it's going to be a plan for the Public Wetlands Mitigation Bank on compliance and how to comply with certain standards regarding development of land and what to do with certain wetlands. And I'll put the link in there for more information. But essentially what's taking place right now in the Oregon legislature, some legislation is being considered in terms of how to streamline the process of developing wetlands in Oregon. And in order to understand this, you need to understand the state geography of Oregon. And this is why I have my smartphone. I'm gonna show, I'm gonna hit up Google Earth. It's on. Huh, gonna hit up Oregon. That is the Pacific Northwest. And I'm going to show you Oregon. That right here you see with Portland and Salem, with Eugene, those areas, that's the Willamette Valley. That is where most of Oregon's population lives. And a lot of people don't know that a lot of Oregon has desert and semi arid areas. Now, why I showed you that? A lot of people think of Oregon and they're going to think of rain, and for good reason. Because people are going to show you Portland, people are going to show you Salem and Eugene and Corvallis. They're going to show you the areas that are part of the Willamette Valley, which tend to get a little bit of more rain compared to areas east of the Cascades. But when you get east of the Cascades, you get to a lot of areas which are very dry, very desert like. Oregon has a lot of different landforms, has a lot of temperate rainforests, got a lot of swamps and other types of wetlands. You've got buttes, you've got deserts, high snow-capped mountains, you've got meadows. Oregon geographically is very diverse, and there's more to think about in that, and why I brought that up. The Willamette Valley has a lot of wetlands. We're talking about an area of Oregon which is in a valley. It's very, a lot of it's flat, and there are a lot of wetlands here. And the wetlands are sort of like, sort of part of the nature in the Willamette Valley. There used to be a lot more wetlands in the state of Oregon, but as the population has grown really quickly, some of the wetlands have been drained, dredged, and filled in for housing development. Now, as it stands, there are current laws regarding development of the land in Oregon. You have to think there's one law, it's the urban growth boundary. And this is how the urban growth boundary works. And I got another video about that. You got a city. You got that city, and way an urban growth boundary works, you have to plan for how much you want to develop. You draw a little boundary, and with that boundary, you say, this is as far as we're going to develop. We don't go much further than we don't go further. That's how the urban growth boundary works. And it has helped in preserving a lot of Oregon's natural resources. It's helped in, doing a lot of planned growth. It's helped in creating some walkable areas. It has helped in preserving a lot of nature in Oregon. It's looked at as an environmental measure for Oregon. With that said, it is also part of the reason why the cost of housing in Oregon tends to be very high, particularly in the Portland metropolitan area. Now, of course, in the Portland metropolitan area, the cost of housing is going to be higher. That is the state's largest city. That is the state's largest metropolitan area. And it's been one of the fastest growing areas in the United States of America. A lot of people have moved there. And so a lot of people are thinking, how can we got to plan for the growth. We got to plan where we're going to put certain area. We're going to say this is for residential development, and then we're going to leave this for farmland, and then we're going to leave this for nature. You have to think about how you are going to plan for development in Oregon. And, you know, that does play a factor in cost of housing. You have your pros and your cons. Your pros tend to be, it's an environmental measure. It makes places more walkable. It also saves a lot of land. It also helps in preserving the environment in many places. It also makes housing more expensive because there's less land to work with. Land prices are going to go up, and then it's going to be harder to develop in certain areas. Did Ted Kaczynski do? Oh man, we're not here. We're not here for that. We're not here for that. Get out of here. Get out of here. We are not going to talk about the Unabomber in this scope. We're not talking about the Unabomber here. Goodbye. Back to the topic. Oregon has some measures in place in order to protect the land, in order to protect the nature, in order to keep, sort of an environmental preservation measure. The urban growth boundary, and it gets expanded a little bit, but it's sort of, you plan for that development and you plan to keep some land aside, for protection, for environmental measures, keep some land for farming. But there are some developers who feel that the requirements in getting a land development permit are too much. Because with a land development permit, in order to get it, you have to prove that you are going to take measures, take efforts in order to reduce any harmful impact on the environment. You've got to prove that you're going to mitigate any kind of harmful impact. You've got to show that you're going to take those steps and take those efforts in order to get a building permit in Oregon to develop the land. And this is the case for Oregon's wetlands. There were more wetlands in the Willamette Valley. Some of those wetlands have disappeared because of land development. Some are still around because of the steps taken in order to keep that from developing. Now, in order to understand sort of the background of this, you have to understand what I showed you on that map of Oregon, of most of Oregon's population being concentrated in a long line from Portland to Eugene to Corvallis. You have to understand that. That is basically one of the most livable parts of the state of Oregon. You have a mild climate, you have a little more room there compared to other places with a similar climate. You're not in the desert. It's not much of a coincidence that not that many people are living in Oregon's desert. Most of the people are settling in the Willamette Valley from Portland to Corvallis. They're settling there. And they're settling there, because the climate, there's more water, there's land. Many reasons why the Willamette Valley is Oregon's most populated area. And the Willamette River plays a big part of that too. Remember, you have to think about Portland. Portland is at the confluence of the Willamette and Columbia rivers. That's why it's the deep water port, why it's the big deep water port for Oregon. Because from that point, you can access the Pacific Ocean. But with Oregon, there have been a lot of housing problems because many people are looking. There are some people who will see it. And this is how there are people who see it as, we don't have enough room and we need to build more land because we're having more people come here. We need to be able to lessen the processes in order to build more land. And this means we're going to have to take out some wetlands. We might have to dredge and fill in some wetlands so we can build more houses. That's one side of it. And then another side of it is, we have to keep these wetlands. We've already gotten rid of some wetlands for housing development. We need to keep around the ones that we have because the wetlands are very, you have a lot of biodiversity. You have a lot of plants, you have a lot of birds that depend on those wetlands. And so it's really two sides of the argument. You think about the environmental geography, you think about the urban geography, and you think about the physical geography. You think about the fact that, Oregon has some wetlands in the Willamette Valley, and they're part of the landscape. You think about the reasons why so many people live in the Willamette Valley as opposed to other parts of Oregon. And then you think about the environmental factors. You think about, do we want to keep the wetlands around, preserve them, or do we want to get rid of them so we can build housing? And so it's a lot of questions to really think about. And so I'm not really trying to take one side or the other on this. I'm just saying it's a lot to think about. And one of the topics a lot of geographers have to think about. They have to think about, do we build here or do we not build here? Why do we build here? Why don't we? Do we dredge and fill up that wetland for housing or do we leave it? And what are the issues in this area right now? How do we accommodate people? How do we accommodate for more housing? What do we do? It's a lot of questions, no easy answers, just a lot of brainstorming that has to be done. And it starts with understanding geography. And that is all for tonight. That's all for tonight. As I said before, check out World According to Briggs. Check his channel out. He has a lot of good stuff. He has a lot of funny videos. I certainly like him. I love him. And as always, be out there learning about geography.